my God. All right, so welcome to this first episode of the Positive Impact Business podcast. I'm your host, Lucy, and I am an ethical business strategist. I am convinced that we can change our world for the better and that businesses have a vital part to play. I've made it my mission to help these businesses be more visible and becoming the new normal of doing business, creating a more ethical, sustainable, kinder, and fairer society so that our future has a chance. The Positive Impact Business podcast exists to give these striving positive impact businesses a platform, as well as to share their entrepreneur journey with their fellow impact entrepreneurs and empower them to grow with knowledge for their experience. And today I am pleased to be talking with Klaudia, who is the founder of FrigginWell. Hi, Klaudia. How are you?
Hi, I'm obviously FrigginWell.
I love it. Klaudia, for those who don't know her, she's a neuroscience and psychology graduate who is a digital data analyst by day. But most importantly to us today, she's the founder of FrigginWell. She started her business in August 2020 to share her idea of mindfulness with others. FrigginWell is a modern view of self-care and wellness that transforms everyday activity into meaningful rituals. The main idea behind her business is to make sure her products don't add to the user's to-do list and that products should be responsive to modern needs, addressing the things like climate change, diversity, and inclusion. Klaudia, welcome and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me here. It's a pleasure.
Today we will learn about what inspired you to start FrigginWell, the power of having a strict no discount policy to inspire sustainable shopping to consumers. And I want to know more about this. I'm intrigued. The lack of diversity in the green lifestyle industry and how you are challenging this, and certainly much more. So let's jump right into it. And yeah, just start learning about a bit more about you and how did all this started for you.
Amazing. Yeah, thank you for amazing introduction. I think you covered all the bases. It was exactly like you said. I moved to London 3 years ago and I started working in corporate environment, and I suddenly realized not only how stressful this lifestyle is, but also how weird the options to relax are, if you know what I mean. Like, people were going for extra yoga classes at the end of work. They were going to aromatherapy sessions to learn about meditation techniques. And for me, that sounded very stressful, to go after my 8 hours of work, to go and rush for some extra classes to relax and be home, like, at 10 p.m. before I do my commute. Or learning something from scratch, like meditation, like yoga. Those are really difficult topics to handle. So for me, this idea was the opposite of relaxation. And I was like, there has to be something I can do as a very energetic individual that can relax me, but it won't take hours, like, to master or to do. So that was the idea.
I've certainly been guilty of that myself as a Londoner. Definitely been thinking about, things I could do to, relax and take care of myself. And the idea of taking yoga classes, just as you said, the idea of it has always been like, yes, I really love the idea, but like, oh, I got the commute there, then I have to do it, then I'm going to be sweaty, then I'm going to have to take a shower, then I'm going to have to go home. And, you've already finished work at 6 o'clock, you're getting home, you haven't had dinner, it's 10 p.m., right? So no, I totally get what you mean.
So that's how the whole idea started. And I just started making my time the more meaningful time. Because as you said, like when you work and commute in London, sometimes the work can expand to 10 hours a day because of the commute. And obviously not now. We are all been privileged to work from home, but it was like that. So I started thinking about changing just my daily activities that I was already doing, but for something that has more meaning to it. And I didn't know that it was called mindfulness, like being present in the moment. Actually, this whole ideology that I learned about it, it came later. But I used my psychology degree, and I went back to my books to kind of create habits for myself that worked.
So when you started this process, what did you start it with?
I started with traveling mindfully. So, well, it wasn't called like that, as I said, but I started sitting just in a train with no distractions, like with not taking out my phone, not reading a book, just sitting and literally doing nothing. Because I was like, I'm doing so much during the day and I'm doing so much after I come back from work. The work is new, you know, everything. I was learning so many things and being in a new place that I was like, I think I just need some time to be bored. And I started with the traveling, but then it quickly became, because people were talking to me on a commute, when you're sitting with no headphones, people started chatting to you and stuff like that. So it very quickly transformed to doing mindfulness showers.
Wow, cool. So how did you start it with the mindfulness showers? Like what did you, what made you transition? Why did you choose that moment particularly?
I think showers are very particular place in people's houses. I don't know if you ever caught yourself up when you overthinking something or you reminding yourself about the most embarrassing moments of your life. It's either your shower or your car in an empty car park lot, you know? And very often people cry in the shower because it's a place when they are the most vulnerable. They are alone for those 5 minutes a day, you know, I'm calling it, they are separated from the outside world with these bathroom doors. And I really wanted this place to have a positive connotation rather than negative one. So I thought, oh my God, this place should be a place of my empowerment. I am just with myself. I'm very vulnerable, you know, I'm naked, I'm outside, I'm inside, not outside. And I have this me time that rather than being sad about something, I should really empower this moment and like kind of take myself on a date. You know what I mean? Just spend some very nice time and enjoy myself there.
I really love it. I'll be honest with you. I think the shower is the moment where I always remember an argument and I find exactly the right sentence I should have said back, and I'm like, damn, I should have said this, So I have like, I relive arguments in my showers and I'm like, oh, I have such a good argument to back this off, but that was like days ago.
Yeah, exactly. But look how it's setting you up for the entire day. If you take the shower in the morning and the first thing you think about is the argument you had a few days ago, it's getting this negative thought process in you from the beginning. And then it's going with you throughout the entire day. Because how you start your day is going to follow through later. So I think it's like so important to really transform those showers into place of being empowered and nice to yourself.
I love it. I really never thought about this way, and I really love this idea. Like, I'm so glad we're talking today. I'm learning so much already. So with that, how did you develop, what did you develop from that?
So from that, I just started doing it for myself. And I was enjoying it. I was going to work as always. But I'm this kind of person who is bored really easily. And I think I was never born to like be in 9-to-5 job. So I was like, I need a hobby. I need to do something else. And I started thinking, why don't if I feel like this, like those yoga classes, aromatherapy classes, if I feel like they are not a solution for me, there are probably more people like me who cannot find their own solutions either. So why not to spread the idea with others and start planning how to spread the word about that?
Nice. And so did you, how did you really start planning? Like, did you just like, did you recorded what you were doing, or did you how did you make all that happen? How from having your own personal mindful showers did you transform that into FrigginWell?
Mm.
What was the
Well, I started.
transition?
I totally get your question. I think it was, as every business journey, it's so complicated to just stripe it back to few steps because it was all happening at once. You know, me learning about green lifestyle, aromatherapy, zero waste living, reminding myself how is that connect to the brain networks, and you know how it all works together. And the idea was creating very rapidly and almost organically. The more I was learning, the more it made sense. So yes, and the first thing I do, it was research. I knew if I want to have a business, I need to have a really good backup for it.
You're
And
a
I'm a
data analyst by job, so I guess that was quite helpful as well.
Yes, and also it was quite enjoyable part for me to do because that's what I'm doing on a daily basis. So yes, I did like extensive audience analysis. I started doing analysis online, what is already available in terms of like boxes that coming with a ready kind of solution for relaxation and stuff like that. But yeah, no one had mindful showers yet. So I was like, that might be the plan. And the next step obviously was finding people who will make that happen, because I knew I couldn't make that happen myself. So there were a few people obviously on the way who helped me, including some specialists from mindfulness who wrote the entire technique that at the end is in the box. That was obviously taken from my idea, but were written in a professional manner and how it should look like. And the biggest help I got was the design, because I'm the person who is not really good and consistent with style. So I knew I needed help to make it look good.
Oh, that's cool. And when did you launch again?
I launched in August 2020, so in mid-pandemic times
Just
for now.
between lockdowns?
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I started planning it almost a year before.
Right. Wow. So it took about a year to launch, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. So I'd like to know a bit more about what it's been like so far, you know, to start such a business and develop it. Like, we're also here to inspire other businesses to and share our experience. So hopefully this can also help them grow. So I'd like you to tell me a bit more about some of the challenges that you faced as you were in that pre-launch process, you know, of developing that new product, that new brand, that new company, you know. What were you not expecting, you know, and how did you overcome those challenges?
I definitely didn't expect how my idea was going to change almost week by week. As it was developing and growing, I was changing my mind, what should be in the box, like what kind of products, what kind of techniques, how it's going to look like, in so many things. It was just constantly changing. But the good thing about this was I was going to a lot of networking events and I was constantly telling about my idea. And the same people happened to be, you know, 3 weeks apart on the same networking event. And I was telling them again about my idea. And they were like, 3 weeks ago, you were saying something similar, but almost completely different. And I was like, yes, because I'm growing. And every week I know more about what I want to do. And by talking to people and saying my thoughts out loud, it was allowing me to make this idea better almost, you know. So I think the most important advice for people who haven't launched a business yet, talk out loud to different people about your idea, because every time you say it out loud, you will hear yourself and you will be like, oh, maybe I can do this, maybe I can do this, and just really progress with what it really should be about.
Yeah, I really agree with that. I would just add a little warning with this, because I know, myself included, you know, I've been there when growing a business. When you ask, it's great to talk about your ideas with a lot of people and get a lot of feedbacks, but don't necessarily take everyone feedback and everyone advice as gold information or as what you should be doing. Like, take in what feels right for you and leave out what doesn't, because most of the time it's really about your gut feeling. If this feels right, then it must be right. If this feels wrong, then it probably isn't for you. And also, you don't know what the background of people is. You don't know if they have a clue about what they're talking about, if they actually have the expertise they say they have. You know, I've been to a lot of networking events in London, and sometimes been speaking with great orator, like people who really can speak and articulate ideas like so much even better than, like, always been very impressed, like, oh my God, I wish I could, you know, express myself in such a way, just to figure out a few weeks later that they're absolute scam. They don't know anything what they're talking about. They're just really great at speaking. So that would be the slight warning I would say about that. But I think it's still a great advice, because if you stay in your bubble, in your own head, you just keep you know, running around in circle, and this is how you create self-doubt as well.
Yes, and I can't agree with you more. And that's, I think it's extending, especially with people in your family. I wouldn't talk to anyone in my family about my business, because first of all, they have no idea what it's like to have a business, and they have no idea about mindfulness. So they can support me, obviously, but their opinion just doesn't matter in this situation, because they are not an expert in the field. But when you have someone who knows what they're doing, who did it before, I would rather write it down, at least to have a think about it, if they might be right, or challenge it, Google it later. But if you speak to people who did it before, they might know a bit more than you, probably.
For sure. And I think I will one day dedicate a whole episode just to how to deal with family, loved ones, you know, and relatives and friends when you're starting a business, because it is a really tough topic. Like, you want your people to root for you, and you want to try to help wherever you can find it, even more as an entrepreneur who's starting a business on their own, like completely by yourself. But it can be also very stressful to have the feedback of your family. And also, as you said, it can pollute what you're doing, because they actually don't have a clue what you're talking about or what they're doing. Like, they haven't necessarily launched a business themselves. So,
Yeah.
you know, I think I will definitely have an episode on that topic, and I can invite
You
you again,
should.
maybe.
You should. I would definitely listen to it, because it's hard to be a supporter when you have a different agenda as well as a family. You know, you want someone who you love to be in a safe position, in a position that they have money flowing in their account, that they have something they love, and they don't need to get out of their comfort zone, obviously. So, you know, it's not a surprise your mom would be like, oh, can you just become a lawyer and don't, you know, not try to do anything else? Yes. And with the friends, remember, if they are not your targeted audience, don't be a creep and don't tell them to buy your stuff all the time. They are just might not be interested.
And another thing, you know, you're saying about them, when your friends are not your target audience, I think it's really something to remember whenever you speak to anyone about your business, is that, are they your target audience or not? Are them your target customer or not? Because if you're asking feedback from someone who's like the opposite of the kind of people you're trying to target, why are you even asking them advice for? Or are you asking them feedback from? Because whatever they're going to tell you is what relates to their, you know, their reality, and it's not the reality of your target audience. And just the same as a business owner, sometimes we have strong ideas, and I think you have to follow as well your passion and your ideas, but it's important to always remember that sometimes we're not our target audience. Most of the time, I think as positive impact business owners, we definitely are our target audience, because we're doing what we're doing because we want to do good in the world. And obviously, people we want to inspire, we want to, you know, we want to have customers that share our values. So yeah, but I would always keep in mind, like, make sure that when you ask feedback from people, who are they, you know, are they your target audience or not?
Yes, that's a great advice. And I think that is one of the most difficult thing when you start the business, to first decide on your targeted audience and then stick to it. Because then when you launch the product, you just want to reach everyone, and you feel like, of course, everyone will love it. Of course, everyone would want it. And then you started doing the biggest mistakes, I think. Just, if you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one.
This is literally what I was going to say. That is probably one of the number one problems that my clients face when it comes to their target audience, and how to define it and make sure that you stick to a niche target audience, that you really define them well and not trying to talk to the larger number. And I know it sounds counterproductive, because you think like, well, surely you need to speak to as many people as you can so you can sell as many products that you can. But the problem is, just as you said, like if you're trying to talk to everybody, you end up not talking to anyone, because what you're saying is just going to be too generic, too general, too broad, and so it doesn't really attract anyone.
And it will not sound sincere, when you're talking like this.
Definitely, yeah. So yeah, that's definitely an issue that anyone who starts a business face difficulty with. And I think when it comes to defining your target audience, the thing is, sometimes you're going to have, depending on the kind of business you start, sometimes you're going to have a product and you need to find the right audience for that product. And sometimes there are values that you have, expertise and set of skills that you have, and you want to turn that into a business, and you need to find, the right audience. You need to find an audience that share your values, because you're more interested in connecting with the right people. And then you're going to end up create and shape an offering or product or service that is both using your skills, your set of skills, and answering that specific target audience problem. So there's always kind of like different point of view. Like either you have a product that solves a problem and you need to find who has that problem, or you have people you want to work with, and then you need to figure out what's their problem and how you're going to solve it. So yeah, target audience, big topic. It's probably the number one topic, I think, when you start a business. Definitely.
Yeah, because I think historically speaking, a lot of people were focusing on demographics, which I don't know if you agree with me, but I don't think in 2021 it's relevant at all of how old are those people, what gender are those people, or where they live. It's the most irrelevant thing in the new era.
So you really anecdotal.
Yes. So what I would really focus on is definitely their emotional triggers, what they really care about in their everyday lifestyle. What songs do they cry to? What kind of chocolate do they eat? What kind of movies they watch on Saturday evening? Those kind of things are going to make a massive difference for you when really realizing what kind of people they are and what connects them all together.
Definitely. I think you completely hit the nail on the head here. And that's definitely how I would always encourage businesses to drive their research on their consumers and their customers, is really to understand what is their life looks like, to have a great understanding in details, like inside out, what it's like to be in their shoes for like a day. What's in their head? What are the challenges that they're facing? What emotions are they going through? Do they have problem at work? Do they have problem at home? What do they enjoy doing? What do they don't enjoy doing, and why? Do they have aspiration, dreams? Are there things that really, as you said, trigger them, annoys them, frustrates them? And all of that is really going to give you some kind of like psychographic portrait of these people that are your target audience. And the more you speak with people like directly, I always encourage like direct conversation with your target audience. It is frigging, should I say, that's for the first pun of the day. It is really, really hard, and it takes a lot of time, and it can discourage a lot of people because it is time consuming. But for having seen it myself, helping other businesses for like over 7 years now, I know that this is the best investment you can do in your business, is to spend the time to do that, because that definitely leads to all the answers that you are looking for to create the right product, reshape, refine your product, how you're going to talk to them, how you're going to communicate your business, etc., etc. So yeah, spot on for that. And I'm pleased to hear that you've gone through that process, because not everybody does.
And it's kind of a continuous work, isn't it? Because your audience will be changing, especially right now. I did my analysis and then the pandemic hit. And, even though if it would be for a while, I think my research would stay true. But a year in, and people are starting to change, So yeah, it's a continuous work. And I think the first advantage of small businesses of the day is that Waitrose or like big brands like that, they don't have an opportunity to grab a phone and phone someone who uses their product or shop in their places. But we can. You just grab first follower you have on Instagram and tell them, can I call you for 15 minutes and ask you questions?
It doesn't cost you anything apart from your time.
And I mean, no databases, no softwares will ever replace that, the advantages that small businesses have with talking right to their customers.
Definitely. Wow, I'm so pleased to hear that. And I could talk about target audience and research like for ages. I'm such a nerd for that, really. But I want to take a little step back. And you mentioned to me when we were preparing for the podcast, you mentioned to me that you were working on inclusion. You talked to me about how your niche, as a green lifestyle brand, has difficulties with inclusion, or facing problematics regarding inclusion and in everything that's about tackling climate change. So I'd love for you to tell me a little bit more about that.
It's a really difficult topic, and I think for green industry especially, that is so new, it should be so obvious to be tackling from the beginning, because the old industries that we have for years, we know there's lack of diversity and there's lack of inclusion, and it's really hard to tackle problems that have been existing for years, for decades. But with such a new thing as green industry, I'm just really stunned and horrified, like how it's pushing only white middle-aged people to be in a zero waste community. And this gap is constantly growing rather than getting smaller. So this is something I definitely would encourage all zero waste sustainable business to look into, to make sure their ads are targeting everyone, not only the easiest audience, because I know, okay, they will bring the biggest conversion very quickly. But at the end of the day, in the long-term run, we are going to be excluding other people than white women more and more and more, which in the end is going to just smaller this targeted group that it is. And something like climate change or buying products that are paying wages to their employees should be important to everyone at the end of the day. So is zero waste for the privileged community? Definitely in some senses, but it shouldn't be. And I think it's a business owner's responsibility to tackle this problem and to continuously doing something about it.
I see you're really passionate about it, and I really love it. And I think you're totally right. And it is a difficult topic, and even more coming from, we're both white middle-aged women, right? Well, middle-aged, yes. I don't know, but we're both white women, and definitely in that kind of niche of that growing industry that's coming up. So I feel sometimes, maybe I'm not the right person to talk about that much. But what do you do with FrigginWell to tackle that?
So from the beginning, I was dedicated to showcase everyone using the products, like within my social media, to make sure that the face of FrigginWell is not white middle-aged women, but the FrigginWell face is face of everyone who takes showers or, who is with this audience, to make sure Meran included. So all the boxing, all the design was gender neutral. I really didn't want mindfulness shower set, although it might seem obvious that they will be like for her gifts, category. I really didn't want it to fall into this category. So with my designer, we worked really hard to make sure it's gender neutral, it's suitable present for people all genders, male, female, trans, queer people, everyone that is included. Now when I'm looking for influencers to represent FrigginWell, I joined groups on Facebook like Asian UK community, Black community in London, and I'm trying neurodiverse people, because that's the real people I want to represent wellness and self-care. Because very often it's not only in green community we excluding people of color, but we actually excluding people of color with talking about mental health and and general wellness. So I think it's crucial to make sure your business represents real people and everyone that is around us.
I think it's really honorable what you're doing, and you're so right. Like you were, citing, different groups, discriminated or minorities group, and yes, I mean you're so right in the sense that we don't necessarily think about them. It's not that we don't think about them, but a lot of brands when they start, we don't necessarily include in our mindset, there are going to be different type of people who are using my product, and how do I address that, and not just focus on people that look like me or that I'm comfortable with talking about, but also to give, just as you were saying, like to give access to that to these people as well, because most of the time there's no specific that there are not necessarily specific brands that are going for that as well, and they are left behind with mental health. I have a friend who works in Black mental health, and she's really fighting for the Black community to get to raise more awareness inside that community for mental health, because simply within just like a system like the NHS, it's not necessarily something that's being addressed, and I mean from the years of trauma, the history trauma that these communities endure all the time, there is a need for that. So I think it's really honorable what you're doing, and definitely inspiring for other brands to take on and act to include everyone. Definitely.
I don't know. I think it should be normal, and that's all I have to say.
I know.
Obviously, I'm not going to say what kind of problems those communities are facing, because as we said, we are both white. We have no idea what they're going through. But just be a better white person. That's all I have to say.
I love it. Be a better white person. You're totally right. So what kind of because I can already hear some people, saying, okay, I love that, but I have no idea where to start. So what kind of advice would you give them to where to start when it comes to inclusion in, creating a new product or a new business?
I'm still struggling with the same thing, because a lot of people, especially with the closed communities, they are not really willing to collaborate or to be part of that. But I think it's just a matter of trying. Ask your colored friends, what would they want it to look like? Is it inclusive enough? Does it look inclusive? Ask questions that I think we wouldn't even think about as a white people, that sometimes might be off-putting for minorities, people of color, queer people, any kind of minorities. So go directly to those people and try to ask their opinions about it, and tell them, honestly, I really want to try to be a better white person. I'm not sure if I know how, but I want to learn, and tell me the direction, and I will try to take it.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think, coming back to what we were saying earlier with narrowing down your target audience, I think including these minorities in your research, including some people, have at least, 3 to 5 people of each category that you're trying to include as well in your research. Because if you're only researching from white people or cisgender people, obviously you're only going to have a data, all the data you collect is only going to relate to that kind of people. So I guess when it comes to being more inclusive as well in growing, in developing a new business, definitely add more diversity in the people you're asking for to get feedback from, to narrow down.
Actually, in the process of research, you would realize how much exclusivity there is already, because when you look at the data and the stats, what kind of people were surveyed, most of them were white, most of them were cis, and this is already the problem, because the data is skewed for one kind of people. So yeah, if you have a chance to do the survey, to call, to just talk to someone, do it. Qualitative research is not worse than quantitative research.
And then the other advice that you kind of mentioned, touch on earlier, is to include these people as well within your visuals and within your brand. And I think that's so important as well, to have representation as well when you look at a brand. Like myself, I don't think it's a bad word to say fat. I'm fat, that's just how it is. It's just a fact. It's not like a bad thing. It's just a fact. But like when I look at online shopping and I look for my size, and it's like a size 0 model who's wearing the garment, I'm like, I have no idea how that's going to look on me. And right now, in the middle of a pandemic, we can't go and try products. And of course, a lot of unsustainable brand would encourage you to buy and try it at home and then send it back, which is 100% not sustainable to do, but a lot of people do. But yeah, no, I think we need more representation, and obviously people of color, like they're depending on different type of skin tone you have as well, a garment is going to look different on you than on a white person. So I think definitely as well, including diversity in your visuals is important, just to have more representation, that we are a diverse world and we are so many different type of people, and all together we form that humanity, and everyone should be represented, really.
Yeah, I agree. I just want to put it out there. I don't want any hate comments. I'm trying my best, but obviously it's not perfect. It's still, the brand is me. I'm the one person who is doing it. So obviously it's seen through my eyes as well. Mostly through my eyes, only through my eyes. But yes, recently I actually asked for the illustrations to be done for FrigginWell Instagram. And the lady sent me lovely illustrations. But when I looked at them, they all looked kind of like me, like, white, skinny person in front of the mirror with a perfect, tidy room. And I was like, that's not really what I want FrigginWell to represent. That's no one looks like this, with.
And your room is never that tidy unless it's the day you take an Instagram picture.
No, so when you probably listening to this podcast episode, the illustrations are out. But I ask for every single illustrative person to be at least size 12 and to have at least few things on the floor, as we normally do in our things. But this not being the most important topic in the illustration. So, because we're drawing someone who is messy, but we're not talking about the mess in the room. That's not the topic of the conversation here. To just really switch this perspective, because we showing someone, it doesn't mean we are going to talk about their lifestyle, their color, their size. No, they are just people. We are still going to talk about mindfulness or about zero waste lifestyle or about something else. This is not relevant who is on the picture.
And I think when you were mentioning, potential hate comments under this program. Hopefully not. Please don't hate us. But I think, we're just, we're trying, and you're going to make mistake. And it's part of the process. You have to make mistakes to better yourself. So, I mean, by all means, anybody who listens to this and feels like, oh my God, what are they talking about? That is not like, I mean, please, by all means, educate us and tell us. I mean, I know I'm probably going to be completely smashed by saying this, obviously we don't need to expect people to educate us. We do have to work on educating ourselves as well. It's very important. But I think it's about as well having a conversation, with other people as well. So if you do have an opinion on that and you want to share it with us, by all means, please do comment and let us know. And I would love to open that conversation, because
Yes.
I want to better myself, and I'm sure you want to better yourself as well. And anybody who's listening, hopefully, is the right target audience. And and by hearing us, bouncing back ideas, you might be interested in challenging what you think and what you think is right, and maybe try and have a look at all of this from another perspective, from another angle, and try to do more, really. But yeah.
I'm willing to apologize if I said something stupid. Let us know in the comments.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, we are 100% not here to offend absolutely anyone, and I think it's hopefully clear that we're trying our best to be on the topic of inclusion and not the other way around. But yeah, let's close that little topic for today. And I just wanted to throw this just right now, are there any challenges that you're facing, as because obviously you said your business has drastically changed, like your audience has changed as well because of obviously, I mean, I don't think any business in this world hasn't been through massive changes and refurbishment, if I may say, considering the pandemic, So obviously you said, you had something that was quite neat and narrow just before the pandemic, and then, all that happened and it changed kind of everything. So I just wanted to ask you if currently you're facing any challenges, what are they? And if there's anything I could potentially do to help with that.
Yeah, sure. So the standard, I think, challenges every new business is facing is to still put the name out there. Whatever you think, oh, launch is behind me and I got this awareness campaign out, and you think you're done, but you still only worked by 300 people, and you still need to work on putting your name out there to be recognized more, to be known. And I think that's a constant challenge, especially for me, because I really want to be always 3 steps ahead, of myself.
Yeah.
And to think that I still need to work on the same thing over and over again, it's just really difficult. I'm sure a lot of listeners will have that feeling as well. Oh, people still don't know what I'm doing. And I realized it with my followers as well. People watch me every day for 2 months and they still ask a question oh, what are mindfulness shower sets? And I'm like, I thought I repeated it at least 15 times in the last month, but apparently not.
I love it. So yeah, sorry, did I miss a question or?
No, it's kind of if you can give advice maybe for people, how often you have to talk about awareness and telling about your business and putting it out there. It's constant job, isn't it?
It is.
Nothing you can do to speed it.
Gosh, it really is, isn't it? I think when it comes to engaging with your audience, it's really about being authentic. And I know it sounds like cliche, and probably any marketer told you that before. You have to be authentic, it's just what it is. But I think, okay, so from a technical point of view, when it comes to social media, and I hope I'm not saying anything wrong here, I don't think I do, but for me, when it comes to social media and your social media presence, the most important thing when it comes to the technical part of it, of growing an audience, is to make sure that you post regularly. It doesn't matter, I mean, it does, but to some extent, it doesn't matter if you are not putting content out every day or, every second of the day. as long as you're consistent, like for instance, if you say you're going to post one post a week, every week, and you keep that, growing, that's good, because the algorithm, what the algorithm is going to pick up is that you are regular and you keep coming back at a kind of a regular pace. Whereas if you're posting a lot, within 1 week, and then you're completely off for like 3 weeks, then your stats are going to go down. And when you're trying to pick up again, your content is not going to be shown to a lot of people at once. So that's the thing that you need to understand about the technical part of social media, is that when you post something, whether you have 200, 500, 1,000, 1,000,000 followers, it never shows that post to everyone at once. It shows it to a little part of your audience, and it sees like, do people react to this? Do they like? Do they engage with it? Do they comment? Is the owner is replying back to people? How much time do they spend on this, on reading the content, right? On looking at that content. And if there is engagement, then it's going to show it to more people and more people and more people. So where was I going with that? Yeah. So I think really with that, the idea is not about like putting because I've had people telling me, oh, I need to post that many times, that much every day, and having super strong schedule and like batch cooking content for it. And I think it's great if you have the time and you can do it, but at the same time, I think constraining yourself too much, restraining yourself too much into a structure that is very rigid and doesn't allow for flexibility and spontaneity is probably not going to be optimal. And I think even more with positive impact businesses, we are businesses who want to try and do good, and we want to inspire others. And I think we want to be ethical, we want to be transparent, we want to be honest with our audience. And I think there's nothing better than vulnerability to show that, because even like I was speaking with a lady earlier this week who's got a fashion brand. She's upcycling products, and we were talking about that very topic. And she was telling me, I'm too worried about putting content because it's not refined, it's not perfect, And I'm like, well, why don't you try this? For like a month, you're going to record just like if you were going to post online, but you just won't post it. Just record, like document your process, what you're doing with your phone, pictures, videos, maybe you talk in the background. You don't have to look at the camera if you're not comfortable with it, but do this exercise just to see what, without the worry of posting it, what can you produce, right?
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, when you do that exercise, you realize that actually what you produce is good enough. It's really good enough. And I think, whenever we post on social media, even in the spontaneity of the moment, it's always edited because you decided to share that moment, right? So in itself, it's like edited, right?
Yes.
So I think allowing yourself to be free to just follow what feels right for you is really the key, because that's how you're going to create more meaningful connections with your audience, and that's what's going to drive engagement as well. And I think even more in a time like the pandemic that we are in, I think we've been so stuck in front of our screens for so long. And, in the first pandemic, I think I was literally on Instagram every single day and like browsing mindlessly, like trying to take my head off of whatever was going on.
Yeah.
And the thing is, I think more and more as human beings, we're starting to kind of like see, this is just like paint. This is just, this is not the truth. This is not like, I think we're craving for seeing real people, and sharing your mistake and sharing your vulnerability. And I think, when it comes to what we were talking about just before with inclusion, as long as you're honest and transparent in what you're doing, this is what I'm trying to do. And I'll probably make mistakes, and if I do, I will correct them. And this is what I'm aspiring to. You're just being honest about your process, and you're just carrying on and trying to do your best. I think there's nothing more authentic and relatable than this, really.
I agree. The best engagement I always have is when I'm super vulnerable or I'm making a mistake, and people can see that. On my stories, I never redo them. I just record them as they are.
Yeah.
And last time I was sending the parcel to the box to someone, and I was, oh, I'm sending it to, and then I realized the name of the town was like, what? And as a not native speaker, you're getting this kind of anxiety. But then I was like, I don't know, what is it, like Worcester? Oh, you should see the reaction, because it was obviously Wester. Sorry to all the people there. The reactions were absolutely massive. I never received so many DMs after this one, like how much I made people laugh with this pronunciation of the town. Obviously, I learned my lesson. I know how to pronounce this town now. But, it was so cute to see that first, actually, people are listening what I'm talking about because they heard it. And the second thing, how positively they react. They were like, you are so funny. And I mean, I wasn't trying to be funny, but it was a good laugh for everyone, because my husband from the background was shouting like, it's Wester. And I started laughing as well. I started uncontrollably laughing as well at this story, and then everyone was laughing with me, and that's the entire goal. That's how my life looked like here. Sometimes, yes, I speak, I think, fairly well for not a native speaker, but then yes, some words still surprise me.
Yeah.
Why would you put so many letters in a town, Wester? What for?
I know. The English language is sometimes very challenging.
Why so many
letters? That's definitely the point I was making. I think people are really craving to see that everyone behind the brands or the people that they're following are actually normal people.
Yeah.
Just like you. We're just normal people, just like you. We have children. We have to take the beans out. We shower. It's just like we all go through the same struggles, and I think sharing that vulnerability is what develop stronger bonds as well with your audience.
Yes. And everything we're talking about is still taking us to the targeted audience, because with FrigginWell, I had a lot of people telling me that they don't like the name of the brand. Wow. They think it's offensive. Some people replied to me that they are not going to resell my products just plainly because of the name of the brand.
Wow.
And at the beginning, it was something a lot of people like, maybe you should change that, maybe you should rethink that, and I was like, no, I'm sure about it. I want it to be different than other meditation mindfulness products. I want it to be funny. I want it to be modern. And if someone don't get it, that's fine. Like, it's just not for them. Exactly. But all my social media are like this as well. I'm this kind of person who likes being modern and funny and out there. A lot of my videos include swear words in it. And, I think that's fine. My product is not for kids. And if you can't handle this kind of, or you find it offensive, definitely FrigginWell products are not for you. Because that's modern mindfulness. I'm not going to ever tell you to sit 3 hours in one place and meditate, because that's not something I would ever do. Like, it's something for people who are just, now I don't want to say more fun, but
I get it. I think I totally get it. And I think you're so right. That's really something. Again, coming back to the target audience, and this is to show, like, this is people listening right now. This really shows you how much your target audience is important, and in different aspects. So, for instance, with that in mind, with what we just said, when someone disagree with what you're saying or is not happy with that, it's okay, and it's just probably not for them, and they're probably not your customers, and it's like when I have potential clients, who disagree with the way I'm offering my services. I'm like, that's fine, I don't want to work the way you want to work, and you don't want to work the way I want to work, well, then we're not meant to be for each other, you know. And you'll find another coach, you'll find another mentor that can help you with that specific way of working, but it isn't going to be me. And I'm not going to change the way I work to please someone, because that's just not who I am, right? So you have to stay true to yourself.
Exactly. And that's the same like with the pricing and everything else. I always say, like, you know, of course, some people drive Skoda, and that's fine. It's a normal car. It can take you everywhere. But then there are some people who drive Ferrari, right? But no, I don't think anyone in this world is writing letters to Ferrari to make their car cheaper so they can buy it. Like, no, it's just not the car for you.
I love that example.
And I'm always saying, when people write to me, like, I can get your things in Poundland. Why is it so expensive? I'm like, I never was trying to be Skoda. I want to be a Ferrari in mindfulness shower sets, and I'm sorry if it doesn't fit you.
And I think, you know, when that's another thing, you know, whenever someone tells me that what I do is too expensive, I always try to gently tell them that it's not that I'm too expensive, it's that right now they cannot afford me. Yeah. You know, and that's okay. That's okay if you cannot afford me, and you'll probably find an option that suits what you can afford. But it's nothing to do with being cheaper or more expensive. I think, I mean, I know a lot of businesses who are not in that mindset of being honest, who are not in that mindset of being ethical, and who are definitely for profit before they are for purpose. This is not who we are, you and I, and the people that are listening to this podcast, right? But as, you know, someone that is a business like that, who is for profit, for purpose, we put the price to the value that we believe is right, you know, and we're trying to be honest and transparent about it. So I think, yeah, if you cannot afford it, you cannot afford it. It's not necessarily too expensive. It's just not affordable for your budget right now. And
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but I just don't understand where it came from, that it's okay. It's okay to say small businesses that they should make their products cheaper, but no one is writing to Ferrari letters to make their cars cheaper. It's the same situation, you know? Don't tell people how they should price their things. I think they know what they're doing. At least I calculated my price before it went live at least 17 times. Because, you know, you're just very... it's very stressful thing to price your product, especially price your services. I don't even want to think about pricing that.
Tell me about it. I've worked on my pricing in so many different ways before I could narrow it down. Like, yeah, really, I can make a whole podcast about this as well, honestly. But yeah,
it's a difficult topic, but it's so important that you know why you made those price, what does it include, and especially for purpose-led businesses, make sure you are a business first, not a charity. You know, your products need to be valued, and they need to cost to cover all the costs, so you're not working and paying extra for it. So be careful with your pricing.
And I would add to that as well that a lot of for-purpose businesses need their profit in order to achieve their impact mission. So if you're not selling, or if you're not making the profit that you need to be able to then reinvest in whichever social and environmental activities that you have in your business, and that, you know, drives your mission and the impact you want to have in the world, how are you going to make an impact, right? So
yes, you know, you know how they're saying in the plane, put your face mask first before you apply it to the child. And it's exactly the same rule applies. How do you want to give 10% of your profit to the charity if you haven't made any money yet on your business? You know, first things first. I know it sounds fancy, and everyone wants to, well, not everyone, but we want to share our profits with other people. But when I'm earning £20 a month, what those £2 will make, like, no difference at all. So it's better to put those £2 each month to grow your business, and then give 200,000 then.
Exactly. That gives me some ideas to have a special edition of this podcast specifically to talk about money and demystify talking
Mm,
about money within the positive impact business community, because
yeah.
it is a very sensible topic. And I've come across so many founders of businesses who've been in their business for like 3, 4, 5 years, and they still feel guilty about giving themselves a salary, and to the point that they're not making a profit and they're not achieving the goals that they want to achieve. And
Mm,
this needs to be challenged, because I really want to see them thrive, because we need more positive impact business. We need more purposeful businesses to be visible, to exist, to be successful, to show the world that it is possible to be ethical, to be sustainable, to be for purpose and profitable, and that
yeah.
the old way of doing business is outdated. And that's really my goal with trying to empower other positive impact businesses. That's really what I want. But yeah.
No, and that's beautiful. Yes, I totally agree. Making profit is normal. That's what we all do. We exchange our hours, our expertise for money, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. And I'm very transparent with my prices, as you know, and I'm very transparent with my no discount policy, which I know is challenging for some people still. But I said from the beginning how much money I spent to open FrigginWell. And, if someone wants to challenge that, like, yes, I want to make those money back. That's the entire idea of it. I didn't make it as a hobby project to just spend money because I didn't have where to put them. There were so many other ways I could spend them.
But there's also a much deeper concept behind your no discount policy, because you said to me that it had to do as well with ensuring that people who buys your product, they do it with conscious as well, with their
Yeah.
conscience, and not just because they can buy it because it's cheap. So kind of like in the idea of having a responsible, sustainable way of shopping, right?
Yes, well, I don't agree with discounts, but that's my personal, very strong feeling about them. I feel lied to when there's a discount. Does it mean the full price was never a good price? Was it always like you could take 20% off with no impact on you and your business? So why was this 20% on this product in the first place? Especially when some big brands are doing 70% discount. This is blowing my mind. For me, this
Yeah.
is pure lying to the customers how much product is actually valued at. And I don't do that with mindfulness shower set. They cost £34.50 for a reason. And if I want to compromise this price, I either have to reduce the wages of the people who are producing the product, reduce the quality of the product, but there's not much manipulation there. So if I take the price off this, any pounds of it, I think everyone should question, like, who didn't get the money at the end when the product is discounted? Because someone lost money. And if they didn't lose the money, it means the profit margin was just way too big at for the start.
I'm impressed of that that thought process that you've been through within that topic. And I mean, I had thought about this before, but the how you put the words together to talk about that, I think it really explains it very well. And I think you're so right. When you see hard discount like 75% off, and that these companies, even with 75% off, they are making a profit, that tells you about the cheap and unregulated labor that they use to get these products made, and it's really, really sad. So yeah, I think you're totally right with that. So before we wrap up, sorry, you were going to say something else.
No,
No?
I think we're talking for quite a long time. If anyone
Yeah,
is
we
still
need to
with
wrap
us and
up.
not
We need to
asleep,
wrap up.
well,
But before we wrap up, I just wanted to know, you wanted to mention a couple of things regarding some events that you're going to host soon.
yeah, so that is very related to the pricing of the business. So yes, mindfulness shower sets are not the cheapest product, but they are exclusive product, and that's the truth. You can take a shower without mindfulness shower sets, and you can be mindful without them, and I never said otherwise. The product should never be solution to your problem. The product is the tool to help you find a solution to the problem, but I would never like tell people that that's the only way to do it right. It's not. There are so many different ways. I would be honored if you would like my mindfulness shower set and you would like to give it a try, but it's not a must. So to fulfill the purpose of FrigginWell, I do have other products that are more affordable and are more mission-based. And those are my webinars, that they are two digital products. Two digital products are already on my website, probably when you're listening, hopefully more. And they are always for free for the first week, and then they cost £2.50. And those products throughout the time being, they will be discounted and they will be offered for free because they are purpose-led products that I really want everyone to have. I really want everyone to be able to create their habits, to set up their goals properly and do things like that. And those products are always available on FrigginWell in affordable prices.
Awesome. And we will make sure to link all the useful links to your website, to your social channels as well in the description to ensure that people can find you and find all this.
Amazing. I'm always loving having new frigs on my social media, so that would be nice.
I really love the name, honestly. I'm rooting for it. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today. It was an absolute delight and to know more about your business. And it was really inspiring and motivating as well to hear about your journey as a positive impact entrepreneur. It always warmed my heart, like, to discover other people that share, the same values and mission to try and better our world. So thanks for being part of that community. Really, I really mean it.
Thank you so much for having me here. And this is very important message you just said. You need your tribe to make a sustainable decisions, to make good decision as the business. You need different people nearby you who going through the same thing, not to feel lonely and to always have someone to ask for an opinion.
Definitely. Speaking of which, if you are listening to us right now, still, we haven't lost you in the process. You're not too tired of us yet. If you are a positive impact entrepreneur, you are running a sustainable or ethical business or mission-driven business for profit, for purpose, and you are looking for help to grow your business, well, search no more. I got you. I've partnered. I know it really sounds scripted, isn't it? That's because it is. So yeah, I've partnered with a team of experts from social media to accounting to business strategy, myself, to sustainability experts to help you grow your business. So if you go on Facebook and you look for the Positive Impact Business Community, this is us. It's a free community for which memberships are granted upon application, so that only the most motivated entrepreneur gets access to it. It is a non-compete, no promo safe space where you get to discuss business strategy with fellow positive impact entrepreneurs and with the help of our team of experts to answer all of your questions. So as we record this episode, we are launching this new group in a few days, and Klaudia is one of our founding members. But as you are listening to this episode, we have been up and running for a few weeks now. And Klaudia, I was just going to ask you one last question. What are you looking forward to in this new community?
There are always parts of the business that you don't find fun or rather boring. And apparently in this community, there are people who are quite excited about accounting and taxes and stuff like that. So it's always handy to have people like this around you.
Definitely. And that can make it maybe more digestible and easy and more accessible to understand, I guess. Yeah, so definitely we'll got you back on that.
Yeah, especially with the ethical business, when you need certification and stuff like that, it's getting really complicated.
Oh yeah. and we got people to talk about this definitely and help you with that process. So yeah, join us if you're in the search for the right tribe to help you grow your business. So thank you again, Klaudia, for being with me today. Thanks for listening to this episode, whoever you are, wherever you are in the world. And I look forward to hearing all about your positive impact initiative.